Hey everyone, Andrew back again, and I'm back with another movie update. It's been a while, but I have picked up some films recently and I've got a decent amount to make this update. A bit of a mix. I've got a TV series, some horror, sci-fi, and a cassette tape. So let's get started. Okay, so first up, not exactly a movie, but it is definitely movie related. And I decided to pick up the Halloween 2 soundtrack on cassette. Now, I already own this particular soundtrack on vinyl, which I've had for ages, and it sounds absolutely stunning. But this was cheap. I think I paid about $15 for it off of a local music website here in Australia, so couldn't pass that deal up. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's been a long time since I've listened to a cassette tape, probably going back to the 90s when I actually last listened to these. I used to listen to them all the time on Walkman. I do plan to check this one out though, because I actually do have a stereo that still plays tapes, so I'll definitely be giving this one a listen. But yeah, for the price I really couldn't pass it up, and it's a pretty awesome item to add into the Halloween collection. Next up, I finally picked up another 4K Ultra HD disc, and this time around it is E.T. I think this one came out last month sometime, and I picked it up straight when it came out. This is one of my favourite movies of all time, and I was definitely keen to pick this one up on 4K, and I've got to say, very, very impressed. I did not think it would look as good as it does, but it's certainly a pretty big step up from the Blu-ray release actually. And yeah, if you've got a 4K player and you're a fan of this film, which everyone should be because it's absolute classic. But yeah, this looked really, really good. I was super impressed with the 4K release, so I definitely recommend the upgrade. Next up we have Acolytes, and this is an Australian sort of horror slash serial killer thriller based film, and I'd never actually seen it before. I'd heard about it, but yeah, never got around to watching it until fairly recently, and I've got to say it wasn't bad. It wasn't the best movie, but I thought it was pretty solid, and if you're a fan of serial killer themed films, I'd definitely recommend it. Kind of unique in that aspect. Basically, it was about three teenagers, and the two guys have a enemy that they've had ever since childhood. Something really, really bad happened to them, and basically they come across a serial killer in their neighbourhood, and they basically blackmail him into taking care of their enemy. So yeah, that's the basic premise of the storyline. Overall, I thought it was pretty decent. It was filmed up in Queensland, and I'm kind of familiar with that area a little bit, so it was cool to see that. But I will say the characters, the three teenagers, were kind of annoying, and I didn't really care really what happened to them. I was kind of rooting for the serial killer the whole time, which I'm not really too sure if that was the director's intent or not. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I would definitely recommend checking it out, and as I said, it was a pretty unique and interesting take on the serial killer genre. Next up we have The Dentist, and this is one that I've been wanting for quite a while. I have no idea how many years this has actually been on my Amazon wishlist. I was just searching on eBay one day under horror listings, and this came up, and I was pretty surprised because I didn't actually know that this had a Region 4 Australian release. So picked it up for a pretty good price, and I haven't checked it out yet, but I definitely plan to check this one out before the end of the month, and I may or may not upload a review. But yeah, I've heard a lot of really, really good things about this, so glad to finally own this one. Next up we have Cult of Chucky, and I'm not really going to talk too much about this movie because I've already done a separate review, so if you're wanting my more in-depth thoughts on this film, definitely check that review out if you haven't already. All I'm going to say is it was a pretty solid entry into the Child's Play or Chucky series. I found this overall storyline a little bit uninteresting, but I've got to say Chucky looked absolutely amazing, and the kills were absolutely fantastic. Best kills in the series in my opinion. They were very, very brutal. Great gore effects. So In that aspect, it was absolutely fantastic, but yeah, the story wasn't the best. Next up, we have Hounds of Love, and again, like Cult of Chucky, I've done a separate review for this, so if you're wanting my more in-depth thoughts and you haven't checked that review out, go back and definitely do so. This is an Australian serial killer film. It was made last year and it only recently come out this year. This was absolutely fantastic. It was actually based on a true crime, a true serial killer crime back in the 80s, when a pretty fucked up couple over in Perth would kidnap young girls and basically hold them captive in their house for a few days and rape, torture, and then murder them. And I think they had about 4 victims, and then the final one actually got away, and that's how the couple got caught. So essentially this movie is based on that. I've got to say, hands down, probably the most realistic character portrayals that I've ever seen, especially within a horror film or a thriller serial killer film for sure. The characters were absolutely phenomenal. It was a very, very hard watch. I was very emotionally drained at the end, but yeah, I highly, highly recommend this one. It was absolutely fantastic. Next up, we have Daddy's Little Girl, and this has been a movie that I've been wanting for a very, very long time. It's kind of a tricky one to find. I don't think I've ever seen it in stores, and every time I've looked for it online, it's been a little bit expensive, but finally found a good, cheap copy on eBay, and yeah, picked it up. I haven't watched it yet. I'm planning to within the next day or so, and hopefully I will have a review up on my channel before the end of the month. I've heard this is absolutely fantastic. It's an Australian revenge film about a father seeking revenge over the death of his daughter, I believe. And I've heard this one is very, very brutal. So yeah, definitely looking forward to checking this one out. And last but certainly not least, finally got around to picking up the 2nd season of Fear the Walking Dead. I thought the 1st season was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's taken me a while to pick this one up. I got it really, really cheap at Big W. They had it half price, so I snagged it. And yeah, definitely looking forward to marathoning through the 2nd season very, very soon. Okay, so there you go. Just a quick update of some of the movies that I have picked up recently. Let me know what you think of them in the comments section below. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.